Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. One Saturday morning. Who remembers that? Who remembers that? I have something up here. One Saturday morning. Good morning, everyone. All 1,000 of you listening right now. So I just decided to get on here and do a little channel in review, week in review, upcoming things that have been happening, announcement video on this Saturday morning. And I know the Grail Country's got one scheduled coming up with Luke probably in about 30 minutes. So I'll point that direction. Yeah, but I wanted to get on here and talk a little bit about some things that have been going on. Yes, Zach, or I said Zach Parsons, just saw you on Karen's channel. Yeah, I was going to mention that. I have hosted a lot of podcasts. I have not been on a lot of podcasts, but Karen Wong invited me on after I had talked to her, and we finally got that going. And we had a good conversation about the sacred and worship and church and things like that. So yeah, I want to encourage people. I've got a little, dealio here that we can show. That I was wanting to do some. Let's see. I thought I had it up here. Do I have it up here? Yeah, there it is. That's not it. There it is. Share. Boom. Oh, that's not what I wanted to happen. There it is. Yeah, so I was on Karen's podcast, The Meaning Code. I'll blow it up a little bit. Can the Tellus of Worship build a meaningful bridge between religious traditions? Yes, that was our conversation. So you can check that out over on The Meaning Code with Karen Wong. So yeah, that came out yesterday or the day before. And so yeah, thanks, Mr. Parsons. Parsons. Is this Zach Parsons? This isn't Zach Parsons. What else? I wanted to the TLC in review. This will be a little touch on kind of the yours truly format, and we'll kind of work with that a little bit. There was some drama and some spice that went down in the old TLC, as it sometimes does. Hey, Andrew Parsons. I say that, Andrew, because there's a Zach Parsons that I know around these here parts. So yeah, and let's just take a little. We'll just take a very small look at this. It was in this here, this open mic, right, about rights, patriotism, identity, over on Father Eric Seats channel. A conversation between Alan, the corner citizens, and Father Eric and Mark, and it was an interesting little note, a footnote in the corner history. And I encourage people that are interested in the lore of this little corner to go lap up some of that tea that spilled over on that channel. Hey, Kale, how can we get about Jack Parsons? So yeah, I don't really want to get into the weeds of it much, but I did want to acknowledge that there's some drama. And yeah, you can, if you watch towards about, look in the comments on that channel, and you can get some timestamps when Alan came into the conversation, and it kind of goes from there. And then you can follow the breadcrumbs. You can follow him over to Mark D. Parker's channel. I think that's whose channel. He had a conversation that ended up with a Jer and an upcycle. What's up, upcycle? Where they continued that conversation. But yeah, speaking of getting into the weeds, I I wanted to highlight something that just came out, which was this Into the Weeds. This was with Cassidy Vanderkamp. So many Vanders in this world, where she kind of is starting a new project on her YouTube channel. And yeah, so check that out. It's a 6-minute video where she is talking about planting a new tree, or pruning or weeding or gardening, which is really interesting that she went to the gardening episode because, or metaphor, because I had a conversation that will be out in 2 weeks about that metaphor being a good metaphor for maybe something like Paul Van Clay as a gardener. And I think that's interesting here. Let's just says, Nate, a little too mystical for them. Seems like someone is up on the lore, Mr. Parson. Yeah, I guess that's part of it. So I think it's deeper. But I'm going to follow my wife's advice and not get too much into the drama. Let's see. And there is interesting things in the Dutch corner. I saw Jonathan Demir had a podcast out with the German Dragon that that Grimm had a conversation with. So, and since Kale's in here in the chat, I don't know if he's still here, but he was here. I wanted to show this here. We'll do a little promotion for the Kale Zeldin. On his channel, he released or he did a live stream yesterday talking about his new project, the Defense Against the Dark Arts class that he has been approved to teach at his boarding school, his prep school out there in the great state of Rhode Island. And he opened it up, did some open sourcing for ideas about the class. And I encourage Kale to, when he gets that thing formalized, to offer an audit and do some kind of membership on his channel to allow people that really, really want to kind of connect on that level with him and his work, and to do that with some people. Like maybe you do a monthly, or take 2 months and knock it out weekly or something with people online. I don't know. These things are cool. There's so many ways to do things, but Kale, on his Defense Against the Dark Arts, which South of Sunrise made a video about, kind of did this cool TLC primer, this little corner of the internet primer video and used Kale and Paul Vanderklay's conversation about the Defense Against the Dark Arts, and Kale's kind of like rolling with that some, and he's loves Harry Potter, and there's all the cool metaphor there. I was explaining all that to my wife yesterday we took a little trip, and I actually, when I was driving in the car, Kale giving my idea that was all happening, and I was explaining all that stuff to her. And so let's see. Yeah, so we talked about TLC in review mainly. We talked about Cassie, we talked about Kale, and we talked about the spicy drama and tea over in the Jordan Peterson sphere. What did my wife say? My wife said, well, she's kind of a ponderer. She did not say much. She knows let's see. I'm trying to think specifically. She said probably something like interesting. We kind of, on our worlds, we do these other things, and on our consuming information here on the internet, and we kind of referenced it back. We talked about the Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, and that's like which is a really interesting podcast about her attempts at cancellation for her to be canceled, and we also related that kind of to the whole thing. And what else? And that came through one of her favorite podcasts, which is Dax Shepard's podcast, where he had talked about that. Yeah. and had talked about that show in specifically, and kind of this, we talked a little bit about cancel culture and why that's kind of a part of the whole deal. I think that's what we did. Dark arts, enjoyment structures, or ontology don't give ground relative to your desire to build a wall to the other. I'd have to sit with that one a little bit to kind of get my brain wrapped around that statement. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. With some screen sharing here. Share the screen. Where are we headed next? We talked about Into the Weeds. We talked about TLC. Let's talk about Christian Baxter, yours truly channel. So yeah, I want to just hit on, I want to look back. Let's take a look back down memory lane, and we'll do a little bit of this. We'll make it a little bigger. So I wanted to just point people onto my channel. I've got some playlists set up, featured corner conversations, podcast appearances when I've been on podcasts. YouTube has this interesting feature. You can host a actual pod. You make a playlist and it's a podcast, and this link directly to YouTube Music, which you can operate your podcast like an actual podcast with it's car friendly. This is all on, if you get the YouTube Music app, it's like Apple Podcasts or like Spotify, and this playlist here keeps up with my podcast. And so I wanted to go over a few. This last week, I had conversations with Burn Power and James Taylor, and the week before with Food Truck Emily and Cassidy Vanderkamp, I started doing some conversations with the feminine spirit with ladies, and have another or two kind of in the works. And then James Taylor Foreman, if you're, using the old Jordan Peterson sphere analogy, he tells his story. He hate watched Jordan Peterson into liking Jordan Peterson, and then it had a significant impact on his life. It's a great episode. Cassidy's if you look at the comments on Cassidy's channel and you look at Pseudo Boethius, he's written like 3 Substack articles in my comments on this video. I'll just go ahead and go over there and we can. Dang. Where are we at? Okay, here we are on the comments. If it will let me get there. Man, something is just happening. This is being slow. Get to the right podcast. You're still with me. And we're there. Podcasts. Okay, let's see. Let's find one. What's up, everybody? Today on the Yours Truly podcast. Boom. Yeah, let's just unpack this one right here from Pseudo Boethius. Boom. That's his, and he's got like 6 of these on this. So if you're wanting some interesting reads in response to Taylor Swift on there, you should check that out. Look at this comment. He's got another one. I'll find another one. Here's another one. Observation number 1. Boom. Look at these. He's written Substacks in my comments. So that's kind of fun. And yeah, so let's go back here a little bit to my channel. I knocked myself out of the stream. That's crazy. I'll pause that now. So, if you're still with me, I don't know if anyone is still with me. We got a few people here. So, all right. I wanted to look at a few of these recent podcasts and share the screen. I will go from this one. Yeah. And so what's cool about these, I've gotten into conversations from other people watching these podcasts. So I did a conversation with Neil deGrade, and somebody who is kind of friends with Neil reached out to me, and I wanted to highlight what I've got coming up on the podcast this coming week. So really excited. This we'll get there. So a guy that reached out to me is a singer, songwriter, producer, Matt Hylom. And Matt, I'm gonna show you a screen share of Matt. I want people to go check him out before you watch the podcast. He's on his YouTube, has a little over 90,000 subscriptions. He was at Symbolic World. He said he remembered seeing me there. He probably remembered seeing this hat because I was wearing this hat at Symbolic World, like one of the only people wearing a cap. He's wearing one in this video, but he just recently released an album called The Frame, and it's got some really cool connections to this little corner of the internet for as inspiration, kind of the bigger players, of course, but he's a really interesting artist. He does like kind of pop, hip hop stuff. So give him a look. He's got back almost around a little over 10 years ago. He had a cover he did of Let It Be that went viral. It's got like 50 million streams. So we're having a conversation. I'll be releasing next week next week. And so it's just a little preview there. And yeah, so I wanted to do that. Before I do my last announcements, I want to go back, take a few more looks at some of my older podcast episodes I want to point you to. Because, yeah, maybe you missed some. Maybe you're interested if you're watching this. I'm just going to highlight some here. This one says transformation via cycling. Are these on the screen? Yeah, I'm going to blow it up a little bit more so you can see these things. So I can see these things. Yeah, that's with a friend of mine. We started a band together. My conversation with Ken Lowry here, episode 61, was probably the most meaningful interaction I've had in sharing my story of betrayal and life rebuilding. That conversation with him related to my experience with the story of Abraham and Isaac. I want everyone that can to listen to that episode with him. It was very meaningful. I did another one with Kale a few weeks ago. We talked about education. Ross Bird. So I got pointed to Ross Bird after hearing Gordon Hall talk to Paul Vanderklay. At the end of that conversation, he mentioned Ross, and we had an interesting talk about the church, evangelicalism, and like language around getting people to think about things differently, related to the high church from the low church, but without necessarily jumping ship, like more ideas of synthesis. I had the privilege of introducing Ship Clerk in this episode, exploring new models of physics and cognition with Gabe Stuckey, who, if you ever look at my videos and there's that little circle that says think, it says think out loud on it, but Gabe's the one that designed that. Gabe, I've done conversations with him. The Ship Clerk is doing some cool stuff in this here little corner of the internet, and I was able to do a little bit of rando with him. Talked about my conversation with Neil, James Taylor Foreman, and before this, it's not on here. It should be on here. I'll have to fix that. But his conversation with Stephen D20, and we talked about the the truth of reality, like in color and taste and smell. Really fascinating conversation. A theme in some of these recent episodes is talking about Taylor Swift, because she's so huge in the culture right now, and yeah, Ken, beautiful soul. Check that one out, Parsons. And we talked about puppetry with Byrne on episode 68 here, and we talked about Taylor Swift and her cultural impact, because he has a 2-part, like 2-hour-long documentary about Taylor Swift, and he's got a whole bunch of other stuff on his channels, The Anadromist and The Anadrome. So, all right. Lastly, as I know some people have probably headed over to Grail Country in the next few minutes, I want to wrap this up with a preview. I'm releasing my conversation with John Heers from that'll come out on Monday, probably. John Heers from Heavy Things Lightly. And let's see, I'll do a little I'm getting there. Grim Grizz in this thing. Almost there. Name that movie. I love that quote. Almost there. Yeah, so Heavy Things Lightly with John Heers, and he has a podcast. He does stuff with Tamada Supra, so you see his podcast with Richard Rowland. He's got podcasts with, he's an Orthodox guy with more Orthodox people. Vesper Stamper, she was a keynote speaker for Symbolic World as well. Oh, look, there's Jonathan Peugeot, Justin Brierley, Jordan Hall. So John agreed to come on the Yours Truly podcast. I was encouraged to make that move from Graham Pardun. If you follow along, Graham Pardun is going to be at the Northwest Estuary Conference with Nate Heil and Grail Country and Paul Vanderclay and Karen Wong and Grim Grizz and Rafe Kelly up in coming up in September, I believe the week of the 12th. And I don't have it pulled up here, but yes. How did I get there? I forgot how I got there, but you should check that out. Northwest Estuary Conference coming up. But Heavy Things Lightly, John Heers, conversation coming up with him. Excited to share. And he's got an event coming up that's really cool. But the last thing I want to try to do is I'm going to promote something that he's got going on. And I'm going to show a little preview video that he had produced about kind of a new work he's doing. And I'm going to end with that and let y'all know that he is coming on the podcast next week. And I'm excited about it. And he was the MC for Symbolic World. And so we talk about such things as things people like in this little corner. So I'm going to end with this clip here. Let me make sure my audio is going to like work. Yeah, this should work if I do it this way. All right, let's check out this new promotional thing he's got going on called Christianities by John Heers.
What is a Christian? I kind of do this for a living. My name's John Heers, and this is our restaurant. And in this restaurant, we throw this Georgian Supra. It's a dinner, and it elicits all these toasts and ideas and emotions. And inevitably, the question comes up, what is a Christian? An evangelist, a missionary, a martyr, a healer, a saint. What is the church? A denomination, a building, an invisible body. What's Christianity? A religion, a way of life, a revolutionary political movement. There's a cultural moment happening right now where the old Christianity has died in many people's hearts. And yet, if you drive around town, you see that it exists. Why is it so different from one place to the next? What you see is not a single Christianity, but Christianities. You see a divided faith, divided by politics, by belief, by whatever. Are you driving by a museum or a social club or something else? What's inside all those buildings? Is there something for you there? Where is God? And if you knew where he was, would you want to go? Is there a Christianity that's growing, or dare I ask, more true than others? We're going to interview people from all over the world, and as we do, I want to go on a journey with you guys and figure it out. Our goal is to investigate how people through the millennia and right now, how they see Christianity. Let's figure out what's going on with all of these Christianities.
Yeah, so Christianities. I'm going to be having a conversation with John, the guy in that video, coming out this week. So look forward to that. Check it out. It'll be dropping behind my memberships today. Part of it, a preview of it. And, oh, that was loud. Sorry. So we will be on the lookout for that. And yeah, so I'm going to encourage everybody, go over to Grail Country, Luke Thompson's live stream that's about to start happening. And yeah, look on the lookout for my conversation with Matt Hylom, singer, songwriter, producer. He's got a YouTube 90,000 subs, and he is inspired by all the people in the corner in his music, big players. And then conversation with John Heers. Those previews of those will be dropping early today with John Heers, and then later in the week with Matt Hylom after the John Heers episode. And you can see those early with yours truly faithful membership level. And yeah, and if you want to be a part of helping steer this channel, helping support and be a part of like where this channel goes and does, consider being a part of our believers level membership. We have a monthly meeting, and we've had our first one, and we've got another one coming up. Will be the beginning of August. So if you're interested in that, and believe in what we're doing here, come be a part, or just keep watching. That's cool too. And if you're watching, the likes and the subscribes and all that kind of stuff, it's a feedback mechanism, plain and simple. So it's an encouraging feedback mechanism like everything else. So give us some positive feedback with that. And the week after, I've got some other podcasts in the book. I've got a podcast with somebody everyone knows in this little corner of the internet. He sometimes wears a mask. And then I've got Chinese rando that not many people probably know about. And it's going to be a randos conversation. We'll keep having those randos. All right. That's a little taste. If you made it this far, then you get a little bit of the extra magic information. I'm gonna hit some branding, and everyone have a good day. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in and staying with us until the end of today's episode. Your support and digital connection are truly meaningful to me. If you've enjoyed today's conversation and believe that these discussions bring real value to your life, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I'd also love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. Your feedback and interaction are crucial in making this space even more meaningful. Also, I've opened up channel memberships on YouTube. By joining, we can foster a stronger community of connection and support the continuation of more conversation craft. Membership is set up to foster this in 3 ways. Level 1, connect via members-only community posts for channel feedback, behind-the-scenes moments, and supportive membership branding on comments. In addition, level 2, get to watch podcasts a week before they air, along with other unique members-only videos. At level 3, join scheduled monthly focused small group discussions with other kindred spirits from all over the world. Thank you again for being a part of this journey. Together, we can cultivate meaningful, supportive digital community right here in this little corner of the internet. We'll see you next time.